so we already established muscles. The purpose of muscles is to need a sheath. Okay. We've already established the purpose of muscles is for body movements, right? So that means that we're going to have our muscles attached to our bones, right? Because they act as levers to help us move, right? That all makes sense? Yeah? Okay, so when we do that, that means that we're going to have tendons and ligaments. So what's the difference between tendons and ligaments, Abby? What's a tendon?
It attaches muscle to muscle.
Muscle to bone, right?
Bone, yeah.
Right, and so then what are ligaments? Brendan?
They connect two bones.
Good, they're going to connect two bones. So we have tendons, and they're going to be a cord of dense fibrous tissue that attaches muscle to bone. And then we have ligaments, which is going to be another type of connective tissue, a cord of fibrous tissue that connects bone to bone. So those are going to be two definitions that you want to have written down. And so then when we look at a muscle is going to be attached by at least 2 points. You aren't going to have a free-floating muscle, otherwise it won't have any function. So it needs to be attached at an origin, and an origin is the attachment to an immovable bone, and then you have the insertion, which is the attachment to a movable bone. So that brings the whole idea of the lever, right? So it's going to be attached here and attached here, so when it contracts, you're going to have that lever to where when it contracts, it moves, right? That's what provides movement. So we'll go through that here in a minute. So origin and insertion are two definitions that you'll also want to have written down. So I know a lot of you have done this already, but I'll give you time if you haven't written it down yet. We good to go? Okay. So here we go. This is what we see. So if we look at our biceps brachialis, that means that our origin is going to be on the humerus, okay? So that means our immovable bone is going to be our humerus, right? That's where it's going to originate. It's going to insert then on the ulna. So if you're looking at it, this tendon, what's a tendon again?
Attaches muscle to bone.
Right, good. Attaches muscle to bone. So this tendon is going to, is showing us that it's going to insert, the muscle is going to insert on the ulna. So when you contract your movable bone, here your ulna is going to come up. Does that make sense, everybody? I mean, it's not too difficult, but you have your origin, which is going to be the immovable, it's going to attach to the immovable spot, and then the insertion, that's going to be where it attaches to the bone that moves. Are we good? We get that one? Thumbs up if we get it? Yeah? Okay, good deal. So, a couple things that we can talk about. So we have the prime mover, or the agonist. That is the muscle with the major responsibility for certain movement. On the opposite side of that, then you're going to have the antagonist muscle that opposes or reverses the prime mover. So, if we're talking about our biceps, right? We have our biceps. Let's say the biceps is the prime mover. So when we contract it, that's going to be our agonist, our prime mover. So what's the opposite of our agonist? Antagonist. So what's going to be the antagonist of our biceps? Our triceps. Good. So you have your biceps, and then your triceps is going to be your antagonist. So that's going to oppose or reverse the prime mover. So when your triceps contract, you will then extend your arm. So that's the difference between that prime mover, the agonist, and the antagonist. Oftentimes you will have a synergist muscle, and that muscle is going to aid the prime mover with movement that helps prevent rotation. So you'll have some other stability muscles. Some of these muscles in your shoulder, when you contract, these will also contract, so your arm doesn't go willy-nilly. And same in your forearm, right? So you're going to have some synergist muscles. And then you'll have some fixator muscles, which will stabilize the origin of the prime mover. So again, with those shoulder muscles, they'll stabilize the origin where they're at. Does that make sense for everybody? The difference between these four things? Okay, I'll give you a moment to finish writing those down. And I know that there's going to be a lot of memorization from here on out. That's kind of the nature of anatomy and physiology. It's not too conceptual, it's more memorizing. So can you just memorize what's presented to you? So I know it's going to be a little taxing, but that's kind of where you're at right now. And that's how it is in college. It's biology classes in college. It's all memorization. That's pretty much what it is. It's very little conceptual based things. So we good with these? Okay. So now, there are a couple criteria for naming muscles, right? So when we're naming muscles, there are going to be 7 things that we're looking for. So it's going to be direction, size of the muscle, location of the muscle, the number of origins, the location of the muscle's origin and insertion, the shape of a muscle, and the action of a muscle. So these are 7 different criteria that you will need to know. So we'll go through those different criteria individually now. So we can name skeletal muscles by direction. So an example of that is going to be rectus. So you can have rectus abdominis. Rectus in Latin is straight. So rectus abdominis would be like the straight muscles of the abdomen. You can have by relative size of the muscle. So you can have gluteus maximus. And so maximus means largest, right? So that means the largest gluteal muscle. You can also have it doesn't have to be maximus, so you can have minimus or something like that. So that'd be the smallest of the gluteal muscle if you have gluteus minimus. Okay? We good with these 2 criteria? Yeah? Okay. So we can also talk about the location of the muscle. So for the temporalis muscle is located on the temporal bone, right? So we can see that how we name it can also be dependent upon location. And if we talk about the number of origins, we can look at triceps or biceps. You just have to look at that root. So triceps means 3 and the seps is heads. So the tri part means 3 heads, so we're going to have 3 origins, right? 3 origins of the tricep. And so that's another way that we can classify it by name. Then we also have a location of a muscle's origin and insertion. So example would be like your sternocleidomastoid muscle. And so by sternal, you would have your sternum. You can also have by shape. Deltoid, if you remember your geometry, you have a deltoid shape, so that's triangular shape. So that's another criteria. And then by action of the muscle. So you can have your flexor or extensors. So you have a lot of different flexors and extensors in your arms, in your forearm particularly. Those are some ways that we can look at that. So we have a picture here we can look at, and this will give us a few examples. This is also figure 614 in your book. Page-wise, if you want to look, that's page 205. If you wanted to get a little bit better look at it. So we can, these are the arrangement of fascicles, but what we can see is that it's just showing some different muscles on where they are and how they would be named. Just a figure to represent that. We can see if we look at letter D here, we have the orbicular oris, and that's a circular shape, and so we can see by it being orbicularis, we can see that it's an orb shaped, and so that would be criteria for naming them. So that's just a nice little figure to look at. And then head and neck muscles, that's where we're going to end for the day. We don't need to do those, we'll do those next time. So that's all I've got for notes. Like I said, it was pretty short, about 15-20 minutes of notes. So now what we'll do is, the rest of the time, I will let you start looking at those pages in the book 216 and 218. And then there are charts on 217 and 219 that will actually go through the origins and insertions, and then the primary actions as well. So that's kind of, I'm having you like recopy those charts. Now, you really don't, these aren't going to be graded. These are for your help, but for me, when I learned all these things, I felt that it was very beneficial to have my own charts where I wrote it out. So that's why I have them. So it's not split up into anterior and posterior. It's just.
May I have your attention for a brief announcement? Please excuse the members of the drumline for their performance at Viking Elementary. Thank you.
So that's all we got. Any questions for me right now?
No.
Are you guys okay with our plan for the rest of the day?
Do you need 2 examples on the muscle criteria?
Yes. So you'll have to look in your book for them, okay? But you have time, so I think you'll be able to get them done. Okay, so I'm actually going to go hole punch these.